The Seattle Seahawks got Geno Smith back for yesterday's training camp session. Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hope you guys are doing well today. We've got some more training camp stuff to cover in this video. We've got some more things to dig into with the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, Football Fest is come and gone, and we're probably mentally at the point where we've had enough training camp and we want to see an actual game. We're not that far away from our first actual game. We're just 5 days away. Actually, now it's 4. But still gotta continue to process the information we're given. And the Seahawks continue to give us some information with yet another day of training camp. Nemhauser has a detailed article write-up on what he saw over at the VMAC. By the way, it is, he lists the training camp session yesterday as day 10. That's if you don't count Football Fest as a day of training camp. A lot of people seem to consider it a training camp day, so I know some people said it was the 11th day of training camp. Either way, it was another day of training camp, and it was a pretty good one because, quite simply, we got our quarterback back. I mean, that alone is going to put a little hop in your step, right? You need your quarterback. So we did get started on that note. Let's talk about some of the other things that went down. But before we get into the details of yesterday's training camp, thank you for watching the video. I hope you like it. Please click the like button down below if you do. Helps the channel out a lot. Consider subscribing if you want daily Seahawks content. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to help support the channel. Okay, so going into some of the finer points of yesterday's training camp. Again, I want to emphasize that Geno Smith was out there. He was out there for the whole time. And it didn't seem like there was any limitation on his work. It didn't seem like he was in any way inhibited by the injury. So whatever it was, looks like it's done. Now, that doesn't mean it can't come back. That doesn't mean it can't flare up. But for the moment, we should be feeling fairly good about things with Geno Smith, I would say. Roster note here, and I did mention this a little bit yesterday, but just to reiterate, the Seahawks have released one of their UDFA rookie centers, Mike Nowitzki, and they've picked up a linebacker, Blake Lynch, because they need a linebacker with Jerome Baker currently nursing a little injury, which I'll talk about in a second here, but this also is interesting, not just because of the Jerome Baker part, but because of the Connor Williams part, because it's been said that Connor Williams would be our center. Now, if Connor Williams ends up as a Seahawk, I don't know if Nick Harris would become like the practice squad center or if we just let him go. But obviously, if we do bring in Connor Williams, everybody kind of gets bumped down the line a spot. So we'll see exactly how it shakes out. But Nowitzki was not ever really going to make this team. He didn't have much of a shot. Not that Blake Lynch does, but I'll say this. Blake Lynch has NFL experience. He started 6 games for the Vikings a couple of years ago. So it's not beyond the pale to suggest. Injury stuff, we did have Tyler Lockett getting the day off. However, there was no injury. He was just getting the day off for, rest purposes. Let me pause that video real quick. So, yeah, Tyler Lockett, nothing to be worried about. Just getting a day off because he's a veteran, because he needs to rest. Wouldn't surprise me if he gets a lot of days off during the season this year. Like you might see a lot of DNP rests or DNP not injury relateds on the injury report this year. Because if this is indeed his last year, and if we are indeed going to try to get the best out of him, I think the best thing that you can do is just assume that he's going to be ready for game day. You know he's going to be ready for game day. He's been doing this a long time. He doesn't need to practice every day. So I'd get used to seeing Lockett not practicing and just working under the assumption that it doesn't necessarily mean anything. There were a couple other injury notes as well. Draymond Jones remains out. He has now missed well over a week. I don't want to get concerned about it because it's not that big of a deal, even if he does miss a lot of time because he's a veteran. But it's just when you hear the injury is minor and then it lingers on and on and on and on, it makes you a little bit concerned. It has to, right? Because they were wrong the first time. What else are they wrong about? Were they really wrong? Were they a little wrong? If they had just said initially, oh, he's going to miss 2 weeks with this, then obviously things would be fine right now, but that's not what happened. Jerome Baker, like I said earlier, also sidelined with his own hamstring injury. Excuse me. And no word on a timetable with Jerome Baker. That one's a bigger deal. I know Jerome Baker is a veteran too, but he's got a history of injury problems in his career already. We don't need to see another one. And even if you forget about that part, we need him, and he probably needs reps in this defense to build familiarity with it because he's going to be such a crucial piece to what we do. So, hoping that gets better at some point. Yeah, Draymond Jones also out with the hamstring issue. Already mentioned that. As for stuff that actually happened on the field, I'll highlight a few things that stood out to me from the various beat reporters. Starting with this from Dugar, Trey Brown continues to kill it, and DK Metcalf continues to kill it. 2 stars of training camp so far just continue to eat. Dugar has this tweet here. We can't record during this period, but just take my word for it that Trey Brown versus DK Metcalf in one-on-ones is good action virtually every rep. So if you're looking for 2 guys to have better than expected seasons, I think these guys would be near the top of the list because they're just, every training camp session, they're locked in a way that we haven't seen from them before. And I say that even knowing that DK Metcalf has made the Pro Bowl. He's made an All-Pro team. He's set franchise records. He's nearly set NFL records in terms of early career production. But it feels a little different this year. It does. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. He'll never put up that 1,800, 1,900 yard season because I don't think our offense will allow it. But he can be an ultra efficient 1,300 yards. And that's all you can ask for. Like, getting those monster yards, like pushing up near 2,000 yards in this offense, I don't think is going to happen. I don't think that's realistic, but he's locked in. Trey Brown playing for that contract next year, potentially locked in. Pretty exciting to hear about, pretty exciting to think about. So that would be one of the highlights of the day. There was more chippiness as well. Dugar passed this along. K9 and Reek had some pushing and shoving. Turned into some maybe punches even thrown. Turned into a scuffle. It kept going on and on and on. Finally got broken up. K9 and Reek, also 2 guys that have had really good training camps. I've talked about Reek. Not so much K9, but I probably should be talking about K9 a little bit more because there's been some stuff said from, it might have been Rappaport, about how incredibly good K9 has looked so far in this this training camp. And, I mean, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Dugar actually, just a couple minutes after that tweet, put this out there. K9 ripping off a 22-yard touchdown run. And, I mean, these are not just basic drills where the defense is going half-heartedly at you and you're scoring a touchdown every 2 plays. No, this is really going at it here. So we're seeing K9 really start to lock in here. Hit that gear where he's hard to catch once he sees a little space. So that's encouraging. I like what I'm hearing about him. There's actually some interesting stuff going on with the running backs outside of K9 as well. I've been reading about this. Holani looks like he might be a little bit more frisky than McIntosh. Like, McIntosh actually had a good, let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, Kenny McIntosh actually had a touchdown on a, I think a screen pass from Geno at the end of the day, detailed here from Dugar. But overall, McIntosh has looked a little bit forgettable. Holani has actually looked a little more interesting and has given us something to think about. So, Holani definitely brings a little more power to the table. Holani probably has better testing numbers, because remember, McIntosh ran a really poor 40 time that probably caused him to fall to the 7th round in the draft a couple years ago. And he's coming off a year where he was injured a lot. That injury may have affected him long term. I don't know. But McIntosh, he's kind of not even a running back anyway, right? He's like a gadget player more than anything. Like, he's a receiver as much as he is a running back. So I am wondering if maybe there's a little bit of a shakeup here. Not that it really matters, because McIntosh is still going to be doing things, even if he's not the 3rd or running back versus the 4th running back. But there has been some notice of Holani looking better. And Holani brings something to the table that I don't think other running backs on this team do. He runs with power. He's a smaller guy, but he runs with power, and he's a pretty good pass catcher as well. So there are some things that he's doing that may very well earn him meaningful playing time during the season, which I did not see coming. Greg Bell kind of sums up the day here overall after it was all over. The offense won at the end of practice, but defense won the sudden change situation. I didn't see anybody say exactly what the sudden change situation was, but the last two sentences here are certainly notable. Geno Smith returned from injury and was sharp. Sam Howell was erratic. So meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Geno Smith comes back and continues to have a really good camp. Remember, before he got hurt, every day we were hearing, Geno looks good, Geno looks sharp, Geno's locked in. And what we had heard about Sam Howell was he's inaccurate. So with Geno back, we kind of fell back into that pattern a little bit here. So if there was any thought of a QB battle, it should have been dashed a while ago, but it's certainly been dashed now. So that's, I don't know how many people were still thinking about the Sam Howell stuff, but if you were, remember how young he is. I know he has NFL experience, and that's great, but the guy is very young. The guy's younger than some guys who got drafted a few months ago. So we'll see where that goes. Dugar comments on the center competition between Oluwatimi and Harris, and he described, well, McDonald described it as open, and Nick has been getting some first-team reps, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, that tells me they're not that impressed with Oluwatimi and are open to Harris being just as good or better. Now, Nemhauser actually noted in his article that he wrote up that Olu had a better day yesterday. So it's not necessarily an indictment on him yesterday, but it is overall. And I was starting to feel myself a little bit about Oluwatimi. I was kind of excited about this. I thought he was a good fit. I thought he was a good draft pick. I was excited to see what he could do. So far, the results have been very tepid. Obviously, this becomes something of a moot point if we can get Connor Williams in, at least short term. But the Oluwatimi thing is, it's just kind of rough right now. Again, I want to stress that Nemhauser, if you actually scroll down in the article he wrote for Hawk Blogger, he mentions that Oluwatimi is starting to maybe get a little bit better, but it didn't happen fast enough for him to stave off the Connor Williams situation. I think that if he had played well enough in training camp, we wouldn't be doing this, but we are. So, not great, not ideal. And as somebody who was feeling the Oluwatimi hype a little bit, it's been dampered a little bit because Nick Harris has been in the NFL a few years now. We've seen him play a little bit. It's pretty lackluster. And he's a very narrow use case player. We know this. So, not ideal, but it may also not matter in a few days, depending on what happens with Connor Williams. And as of the recording of this video, we haven't signed him. That may change by the time you watch this video, though. We also have this about Byron Murphy, and Murphy continues to impress people pretty much every day. Murphy continues to be a guy who looks like he's ready to perform in a big way this season. So Murphy talks about how McDonald told him back in May that he needed to get in better shape. And the Seahawks coaches have also altered the way he gets off at the snap. And he is the fastest lineman off the ball in camp. So whatever they changed works and should make him all the better. And being fast off the line was not Byron Murphy's problem before. So if it got better, then it could be something really special. It was already pretty special, if we're being real. Like, the get off on the ball is not the concern with Murphy. There are other concerns with him. There's snap count concerns, there's tackling concerns, there's finishing concerns, but it seems like he's going to be an absolute nightmare to deal with off the snap. And the Seahawks coaches have helped him hone himself in that area. So certainly an interesting read. And yeah, here's Corbin Smith talking a little bit about Holani and how he's right on Kenny McIntosh's 6. So to me, there's some momentum here, and it could absolutely carry over into preseason and the regular season. But I'm interested on seeing both guys in preseason in a few days here. That's most of what I heard. Mike Morris had a good day. I think it was Nemhauser who shouted him out positively. Derek Hall continuing to look pretty good. Those are the main things that I saw. All right, so that's another day of Seahawks training camp. All in all, a pretty good day. I know that we're all waiting on pins and needles for something to get done with Connor Williams. And honestly, if you're a Seahawks fan, you might be waiting on pins and needles for Brandon Aiyuk news, because yesterday it got pretty hot. And again, as of the recording of this video, he's not traded yet, but it sure seems like something was about to get done. Patriots and Browns. Obviously, it doesn't matter that much to us which one he goes to. I guess we don't play the Browns this year, and we do play the Patriots, so maybe you'd prefer the Browns, but either way, it's it should be fine. Either way, he's out of the division, out of the conference. If he goes to the Steelers, he's also out of the conference. Some people are saying maybe the Broncos could be a sleeper. That's out of the conference too. So I think most of us would prefer that to happen. I know that there were some people playing devil's advocate when I was talking about Aiyuk previously, and maybe so, but to me, the Niners become much less likely to win a Super Bowl this year if they trade Brandon Aiyuk, regardless of what they get back in return. Even if it's a good trade, it still makes them worse this year. So we'll see where that goes this year. If we get resolution there, I'll probably make a video about it, but things are heating up over in San Fran, and I think we're all pretty interested to see how it ends. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think down below.